Hi everyone, I'm Scott, and welcome to another episode of the Unlikely Beak. So, we're running into a problem with our second March 30th package, which we were calling our rockstar hive because that queen was really building up fast, and they even produced a little bit of honey this year, which is very, very unusual for the first year. However, for reasons I cannot explain, I was not into the colony, so therefore there was no risk of having rolled or somehow injured the queen. And based on the amount of time that went by between the install and the moment that we noticed that there was a dwindling brood population in there just would not have been enough time for them to kind of get the notion that they might want to swarm. So you might notice that I have my veil on here, and I don't normally do the opening of my videos with my veil on. However, we're having a heat wave here in Pennsylvania, and I think the bees are a little bit cranky about it. I was here yesterday and it was about 10 degrees cooler and they were completely fine. But today I have a couple of guard bees that are on me. I've come here today to try to correct what I think is the beginning of a laying worker situation. And if you aren't familiar with that, of course, when your colony loses its queen, typically within 3 or 4 weeks or so, when there's no more brood in there and there's no more queen, you lose the brood pheromone and the queen pheromone, and what ends up happening is the workers, and when I say workers because it's always more than one, they will develop ovaries and they will start laying eggs. However, just like an unfertilized queen or an unmated queen, the laying workers are going to lay unfertilized eggs, and we know from our previous mishap with our dud queen that that's just going to result in drones, and we don't need drones. So the colony will eventually just die out, and that'll be the end of it. But what I'm going to try to do is correct it by doing two things. I'm going to take a frame of uncapped larva from another colony and put that in the box, as well as I have purchased another queen, and I'm going to be putting that queen in the colony, but in a method that you don't really hear too much about anymore, and that's called the push cage method. And I'll be showing you here what the push cage looks like. It's a really simple thing that I just manufactured out of some number 8 hardware cloth in about 5 minutes time. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be quick releasing the queen out of the cage and into the push cage, and we're hoping that the queen pheromone and the brood pheromone will basically switch off those laying workers, and they'll stop laying. And the queen, of course, she will be in the push cage, and she'll have a few cells in there that will be with her, so she'll be able to start laying in those cells. And the idea is that the queen will then they'll adjust to her, the laying workers will stop, and we'll be able to come back in a couple of days and release that queen. So we'll see if it works. Not everything works all the time when you're managing a beehive. So it's a shot in the dark is one possible way that we can save this colony. It's a big colony. There's a lot of bees in it, and so therefore we don't want to just lose it by shaking it out or doing a combine. We want to try to save it. So I'm going to do that, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I'm going to get everything ready down there and get the camera set up by the hive. So I'll be right back. What I'm going to be doing here is, of course, we have our queen that we purchased. She's got a couple of attendants in there. I'm going to be laying this down on top of the frames just to kind of see, to gauge what the bees are going to do. So with the laying workers, they treat those like a queen. So they feel like they already have a queen. So they may not like this queen. And if that's the case, what will happen is they will ball this cage up really quickly. And then that's how we know that they're not going to accept her right away, and we'll have to keep our fingers crossed that while she is protected inside the push cage from them getting at her and killing her, as well as them having the brood pheromone, we hope that that will settle them down, switch off the laying workers, and we'll be able to then come back and release her, and they will accept her and allow her to keep this colony going. See how they're trying to ball it up, and they're trying to bite at the cage? It's because they don't like her. It's because they don't like her because they have their own queen, which is really laying workers. So we're going to pull her off of there so that they can't get at her. And then we're going to find a frame of brood in one of the other boxes and get it in there. So it's not the sign that I was hoping for, but I also wasn't surprised by it either. Okay, I don't really see any eggs on this frame. So this would be a good frame to do the push on, because it's all open here in the center and I don't see any eggs in there, which means that the queen will be able to lay her own eggs in there. So I'm going to shake all the bees off. I don't want any bees on this frame at all. Okay, so I have taken a frame of uncapped larvae. It had some brood on it and some eggs from Hive 5 here, or one of the nukes. They are really in a bad mood, so only a few followed me up here, way less than what were over there on the table. So hopefully we'll be able to get this done. Wow, these bees are really not cooperating. They're not making this easy at all. I have to come like all the way up here to the edge of the pasture. And of course, one or two of them have followed me up here again. So, see how this goes. So the queen was right there. She's like right there. She wants to get out of there, and I have to make sure that I have this ready so that when she walks out of there, she can walk right up underneath here. And I'm ready to push it down in there when she walks out. there we go. She walked out. So you can see here, she's in there. And I'm just pushing that right down through the wax. So, and I'm just gonna put these rubber bands over it to help keep it in place because it's really hot. And I don't want the wax melting and then she gets out. So now if they start to accept her, then they'll feed her through here. So when we come back in a couple of days, we'll know, right? She'll either be dead in there, or she'll be alive and they'll be feeding her. As you can see here. So there she is in there. Success as far as that goes. Now we just have to see whether or not we're able to switch off those laying workers and get them to accept this queen. So I'm gonna walk everything down here and get that put back in and get that colony closed up. And fingers crossed, we'll see what happens next. So I'm just gonna finish closing up the colony here, and then it's kind of fingers crossed. Let's see what happens in, you know, say, I don't know, 4 days, 5 days or whatever. We should definitely know by then whether or not this brood pheromone as well as the queen pheromone is going to switch those laying workers off. Wow, what an absolute pain in the butt, but it was really very necessary to try to save this colony. So we're going to come back in a couple of days and we'll see, you know, what happens, and hopefully they will accept her and we can keep moving forward. And I'm hoping that the other colonies here can recover from the loss of that brood as well. Again, fingers crossed for them. So this has been another episode of The Unlikely Beak. Thank you so much to all of you who are continuing to support my channel and to watch my content. And I know that there are some of you from the other side that really have no idea and probably no interest in this as well, and yet you are here supporting me, and I cannot thank you enough for this. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and for watching and commenting. Hopefully I will get better at managing the camera while I work. So thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna get out of this really hot but ventilated bee suit. It's 92 degrees, and although I am managing just fine, I really can't wait to get in the car and turn the air conditioner on. So that's another episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.